Welcome to Conversations Live. For more than a decade, we've brought you the best in books, entertainment, and current events. When the movers and shakers of the world have something to say to you, they say it to us first. And now, celebrating 15 years of broadcasting, here's your host, Cyrus Webb.
And welcome back, everyone, to Conversations Live. I'm your host, Cyrus Webb. Glad you all could join us once again, whether you're tuning in on the radio dial here in Mississippi at WYAD 94.1 FM. We welcome you all back to our show. Also, those tuning in through online affiliates around the world, including those tuning in through Conversations Radio Network. Well, you guys know I love being able to share new information with you guys. And I was just saying to our next guest, I found out about something that's coming up that I think all of us should be aware of. Tuesday, April the 16th is being recognized as National Healthcare Decisions Day. Now, for a lot of us out there, of course, we try to think ahead when it comes to planning for our lives and our day, but of course there are those unexpected things that can happen to us all, no matter who we might be. I'm excited to welcome Dr. Stephanie Peterson to our program today. She is the Senior National Medical Director at Optum Enterprise Clinical Performance. She's going to talk to us not only about what we guys should know about the importance of planning ahead so that we don't be a burden not only for ourselves but our family, but also ways that we can find out more information about that planning as well. Dr. Peterson, hello to you and welcome to the program.
Hi, Cyrus. Thank you so much for having me. And yes, National Healthcare Decision Day, super important day dedicated to inspiring and empowering you around the importance to discuss, decide, and document your future healthcare preferences in case of an accident or sudden illness.
And I think that is the thing, Dr. Peterson, as I mentioned to you and to our audience here, I mean, I'm just now finding out about this, but it makes so much sense, right, for us to be able to plan ahead. I mean, so what do we need to know when it comes to planning for those unexpected things that might arise?
Yeah, 3 simple steps to create this plan. Discuss, decide, document. Discuss. Choose an advocate. Who would speak for you if you can't speak for yourself? Decide. Talk to them. Tell them what's most important to you. And then write it down. It really is that simple.
And I should say, my radio audience knows this, Dr. Peterson. I lost my grandmother now 4 years ago, and I was her primary caregiver. And this is one of the things that we had to do, actually, in the final weeks of her life, to be able to talk about, you know, what she would want if something were to happen. And then, of course, to make sure that those wishes were being carried out. It is not an easy conversation to have, for sure. So how should a conversation with a loved one start in order for us to kind of talk about these things and to choose that person who's going to be there to carry out your wishes?
Yes, Cyrus, first of all, I'm sorry to hear about your grandmother. I had a very similar experience with my late husband, and I always say that I think our planning and our discussions really it was the last gift that he was able to give me so that I could be his advocate and speak for himself. So I feel you, and I know what it's like to go through that as well. Again, super important. You know, when you're choosing an advocate, it's important for you to think of someone who you trust, who can speak for you if you're unable to speak for yourself. It should be somebody that knows you really well, somebody that understands how you would make decisions if you were able to. It can be a close relative. It can be a friend. It really can be anybody, but should be somebody that you trust to follow your wishes.
And we're going to be giving out a website a little bit later, Dr. Peterson, that has some great information that Optum Care has put together that I think our audience will find very easy to follow, for sure. But, you know, as you mentioned, you know, with those 3 steps, to discuss, to decide, and to document, the documenting part, talk to us about that, because I think a lot of times that can be just as, you know, as overwhelming for people to think about, okay, what should they be doing when it comes to making sure that these things are being outlined. So what is it that should be documented for our loved ones and for ourselves when it comes to this emergency care?
Yeah, it's super important to write your decisions down. So I recommend that you go to our website at optumcare.com/NHDD. On that website, you'll find a ton of information, but you'll also find a link to an advanced care planning worksheet, and that worksheet can really walk you through the process. It can be really intimidating to have these conversations, and the worksheet will help you start off by having conversations about things like, what brings comfort to you? Do you like to have a quiet room? Do you like music playing? Do you want people around you? Are there certain foods that you like? And from there, you can transition to having the more difficult conversations around life-sustaining treatments like breathing tubes or feeding tubes, and how your advocate should decide what to do on your behalf. You know, it's important to get it in writing. Even if you don't decide to use the worksheet, even a typed or handwritten note can be useful and helpful. And then if you want to get really specific, at optumcare.com/NHDD, there are links to each state's state-specific advance directives, and you can fill those out as well. I always tell people it doesn't have to be perfect. Your plan is flexible, and you really can change it at any time for any reason. It's just important to get started.
And I think, even as you've talked about here, as we find it even on the website, Dr. Peterson, one of the points that's made is to make sure your decisions are upheld, and this is a great way to make sure that that's done. Again, everyone, Dr. Stephanie Peterson has been our guest. She's the Senior National Medical Director of Optum's Enterprise Clinical Performance. We've been talking to her about something that's coming up. Of course, that's Tuesday, April the 16th. National Healthcare Decisions Day, but you guys can decide today to go to the website that you heard Dr. Peterson mention, which is www.optumcare.com/NHDD for more information about what you should be considering for yourself and also for your family. Dr. Peterson, thank you so much for this important conversation, and I hope you'll come back and be with us again.
Cyrus, I appreciate that. Thank you so much for having me.
Glad to do it. And we thank your audience for tuning in to another great segment of Conversations Live. If you all came in late, you missed part of the conversation with Dr. Peterson. Don't worry. Thanks to our online friends, you all can catch the replay of this podcast by going to Conversations Radio Network. Or, of course, you can go to our social media links at Facebook.com/Cyrus Webb or Twitter.com/Cyrus Webb. If you click on the link there, you can listen to the show completely for free and share with your friends from there, too. Until next time, I'm your host, Cyrus Webb, saying, as always, enjoy your day, enjoy your life, enjoy your world. Make sure you take out time to enjoy some good music as well as a great book. Thank you all for choosing Conversations Live. Let's make it a great one.